The heat of Mustafar twisted the air into shimmering waves as Anakin and Obi-Wan clashed with every ounce of rage, heartbreak, and love that had defined their bond. Their blades screamed through the air hope and fury, reflecting the shattered relationship of two brothers torn apart by lies. When Anakin leapt from the droid platform toward the high ground, Obi-Wan didn't think, didn't analyze, he simply acted. His blade cut through Anakin's legs and left arm, and the man who had once been the Jedi Order's brightest star slid helplessly toward the black sand. Flames licked his body, consuming him. Obi-Wan shouted his name, voice tearing apart with grief, and for a moment he believed he had just watched his brother die. But something inside Obi-Wan refused to walk away. He dropped to his knees on the slope, staring at the broken man he once trained as a boy. Anakin's remaining eye flickered weakly, filled not with hatred now, but with panic and something else. A quiet, fragile plea for help that he was too proud and too broken to say aloud. Obi-Wan shook with indecision, torn between duty and compassion, but his heart made the choice for him. He scrambled down the burning bank, sliding through the ash as he reached Anakin's side. "You're not dying here," Obi-Wan whispered, voice hoarse. "Not like this. Not alone." Anakin's voice was barely a rasp through the smoke in his lungs. "Kenobi, leave me, please." Obi-Wan ignored him, extinguishing his saber and lifting Anakin into his arms. The air burned his skin, his robes smoldered, but he held Anakin tightly, as if he were protecting him from the fires themselves. As he carried him toward Padmé's ship, the Force trembled around them. Not dark, not light, but something raw and uncertain, as if fate itself held its breath. Inside the ship, medroids rushed to stabilize Anakin's ruined body. Obi-Wan could only watch as machinery hissed and screens flashed warnings. Padmé, unconscious but alive, lay in the next bed, her faint breaths matching the beeping of the monitors. When Anakin finally slipped into a sedated sleep, Obi-Wan collapsed to the floor, feeling the unimaginable weight of what he had chosen. News of Anakin's survival reached Sidious faster than Obi-Wan could imagine. The Emperor arrived at Mustafar expecting to claim his new apprentice, and instead discovered only scorched ground and the absence of Anakin Skywalker. He howled with fury, his rage twisting the very air as lightning crackled around him. For the first time in decades, Sidious felt true uncertainty. If Anakin lived outside his influence, if the Jedi found him, Sidious' entire plan could crumble. On Polis Massa, hours passed like days. Anakin awoke once, looking around in confusion until he saw Obi-Wan standing at the edge of the room. The silence between them was thick and heavy. "Why did you save me?" Anakin croaked. Obi-Wan looked at him with red, exhausted eyes. "Because you're my brother. Because the galaxy doesn't need another monster. It needs Anakin Skywalker." Anakin turned away in shame, confronted by memories of the younglings, the flames, the betrayal. "I don't deserve to live," he whispered. Obi-Wan knelt beside him, voice soft. "Then live to make things right." Padmé awoke days later and wept when she saw him alive. She touched his scarred cheek, her voice trembling as she said, "Anakin, come back to us." He could not meet her eyes, but he squeezed her hand, and that single small gesture was enough to ignite a spark of hope. When Yoda arrived, he found a man caught between two realities, the Sith apprentice he almost became and the Jedi he once was. Yoda studied him quietly before saying, "Lost you were, but broken you are not. Fix what was done, you still can." Anakin wanted to argue, to confess every crime, to scream that redemption was impossible. But he didn't. Instead, he nodded silently, knowing the only way forward was through pain and truth. Ahsoka's arrival shattered what was left of his composure. She ran into the room, her expression a mixture of relief and hurt. "Sky Guy," she whispered, unable to hold back her tears. Anakin bowed his head so deeply it seemed he would fold into himself. "I'm sorry," he said, voice cracking. "I failed you, Ahsoka." She took his hand firmly. "Then don't fail again." Together, Obi-Wan, Padmé, Yoda, Bail Organa, Ahsoka, they made a decision that would forever reshape the galaxy. Anakin would not be executed. He would heal, he would face judgment, he would confront his crimes, but he would not be abandoned. Sidious, furious and terrified of losing his ultimate weapon, began deploying the first generation of Inquisitors and purge troopers. He issued secret orders to find Anakin and either capture him or destroy him. Vader, after all, was supposed to belong to him, body, mind, and soul. While Anakin underwent painful surgeries to rebuild his limbs, Obi-Wan discovered the chip in Anakin's skull. Removing it nearly killed him, but when Anakin awoke chip-free, the fog he had lived in for years finally lifted. He remembered fives, the warnings ignored, the creeping sense that something had been silently guiding his thoughts. "I didn't fall alone," he whispered. "We were pushed." Once the clones learned about Anakin's survival, they flooded to the cause. Rex was among the first to remove his own chip. Then Wolf, then Gregor, then hundreds of others. They formed the backbone of a new resistance, not the Rebel Alliance yet, but the early spark of it. Anakin worked closely with them, helping remove chips, helping them reclaim their identities. Many clones feared him at first, knowing he had led the siege of the temple. But Anakin never hid from them. He apologized to every clone who asked. He let them see his remorse, his humility, his struggle. Anakin soon returned to limited training under Yoda and Ahsoka, relearning how to balance emotion rather than suppress it. He meditated with Obi-Wan for hours, their connection healing slowly. Padmé helped him rebuild politically, even as the Empire expanded. But the more Anakin healed, the more Sidious felt the dark side slipping from his grasp. Years passed. The Empire grew stronger, but so did the rebellion forming in the shadows. Padmé became one of the most influential secret leaders, coordinating senators who wished to resist tyranny. Anakin became something new, not quite a Jedi, not quite the man he was before, but a guardian walking a line between strength and compassion. He trained young Force sensitives, lecturing them on the consequences of fear, vulnerability, and unchecked emotion. He taught them that attachment wasn't a weakness, it was a responsibility. Sidious, refusing to let Anakin exist outside his control, groomed a new apprentice raised from birth in darkness. She became known as Mara, a weapon shaped entirely by his lies. Sidious fed her cruel stories about Anakin, convincing her he abandoned her, destroyed her future, and stole her destiny. When she finished her training, she was unleashed upon the galaxy to hunt him. The confrontation came during a massive Imperial assault on the hidden Jedi sanctuary. Star Destroyers descended. TIEs screamed overhead. Clones and rebels fought side by side. Anakin sprinted into battle, protecting younglings and Padawans, cutting through waves of purge troopers. He was a storm, not of anger, but of fierce love and responsibility. Mara confronted him in the courtyard, her red blade igniting with a snarl. Their duel raged across the stone pathways, her strikes fueled by indoctrination and venom. But Anakin didn't fight with hatred, he fought with clarity. He disarmed her and held out his hand. "You're not a weapon. You deserve better than him." She hesitated, trembling, the truth warring with Sidious manipulation. Anakin did not strike. He simply waited patiently, compassionately, and that alone shook her world. Sidious arrived moments later, enraged by her hesitation. Lightning tore through the sky as he descended, unleashing his wrath. He attacked with the fury of a cornered beast, overwhelming the battlefield. Anakin fell to his knees under the assault, until a familiar blue blade intercepted the lightning. It was Obi-Wan. Together, for the first time since the Clone Wars, they fought as one. Their blades moved in perfect harmony, every motion fluid, every strike balanced. Sidious lashed out with everything he had, but their bond, reforged through forgiveness, overwhelmed him. With a final push of combined strength and resolve, they defeated the Emperor. His death sent a shockwave through the dark side. Imperial command fractured. The first spark of rebellion became a wildfire. The years that followed reshaped the galaxy. Padmé helped rebuild democracy. Obi-Wan became a mentor to future Jedi. Ahsoka became a bridge between worlds. Mara, freed from Sidious lies, joined the restored order. And Anakin, no longer a slave to destiny, prophecy, or fear, rebuilt the Jedi into something greater than before. He taught that the Force was not about control but balance, not about perfection but growth. He told the story of his own fall openly, ensuring future generations would learn from his mistakes. Luke and Leia grew up knowing their father not as a monster, but as a man who fell and rose again. They trained under him, inheriting his strength but not his darkness. The galaxy slowly healed, not because Anakin destroyed the darkness within himself, but because Obi-Wan refused to let the darkness consume him completely. And in the quiet years of peace, Anakin Skywalker, once the most dangerous man in the galaxy, found something he never thought he'd have again. He found himself,